You wake up every morning with two choices: repeat yesterday or command today. The difference? One small act done at sunrise that flips your mindset from passive to powerful. Before the noise, before the world pulls at you, you center your thoughts on who you're becoming. This one habit shapes your decisions, your energy, your confidence, and success starts moving in your direction. You don't chase it anymore. You attract it by how you begin your day. In a few moments, I will teach you how to start each morning with one habit that naturally attracts unstoppable success. Wake up with a definite purpose. You can rise or you can drift. And the difference between those two begins the moment your eyes open. If you start your day without a definite aim, you've already handed your power to chance. But if the very first breath you take is wrapped in purpose, real chosen purpose, you seize back control of your life. Success never meets the man who wakes up confused. It walks beside the one who wakes up certain. But how do you become certain? You choose. And you choose every morning. Before the birds finish their first song, you stand before your own mind and declare, "This is what I am building today. This is who I am becoming." Each day is a block of granite. Your purpose is the chisel. Without it, you don't sculpt, you merely scratch. You begin with a question: what do I want this day to become? Not what others demand, not what the world expects, but what you know must be done if your vision is to rise from imagination into fact. Imagine if a builder walked onto a construction site each morning without a blueprint. What would he accomplish? Nothing but disorder. But that's how most people live, waiting for someone else to decide the day. You're not most people, so ask yourself, why am I rising? What matters most today? What action will make me proud when night falls? Success does not come from trying harder. It comes from aiming better, and you must aim first thing in the morning, when the mind is quiet, before the world has a chance to speak. Each morning, sit still, close your eyes, say your intention aloud, see it, feel it, then rise like a man on a mission, because that is exactly what you are. Speak victory over your day. The tongue is a tool or a trap, and the first words you speak each morning either set your mind ablaze with conviction or extinguish your inner fire before it's even lit. You've seen this. A man wakes up and groans, "Another long day." Another says, "This is the day everything changes." Which one do you think leaves the house ready to win? You are what you speak, especially to yourself. Most people don't realize this. Your subconscious listens closely in the morning. It hasn't yet formed the rhythm of the day. It waits for you to tell it what kind of day it's about to live. So if your first words are doubt, dread, or defeat, you've already surrendered your power. But when you rise and say, "I am strong, I am capable, I will finish what I start," something inside you tightens, like a drawn bowstring. Do this before you speak to anyone else, even before you eat. Speak out loud, firmly, clearly, with power. Today I rise with clarity. Today I act without hesitation. Today I attract success by what I build. Imagine a warrior walking into battle mumbling complaints. He wouldn't last a minute. But when he shouts his oath, grips his blade, and charges forward, he's unstoppable. You are that warrior, and your weapon is your word. So ask yourself each morning, what truth must I speak over my day? What doubt must I silence before it grows? Do not wait for confidence to come. Speak it into being. Declare your mindset. Declare your goal. Then go and prove your words with action. What you say in the morning becomes the story you live by noon. Review your definite chief aim. If you don't review your vision daily, you forget why you started. And when a man forgets his why, he becomes a leaf in the wind, blown by circumstance, never rooted in purpose. Every morning you must bring your mind back to your definite chief aim, the one goal that lifts all others. Without it, life becomes a scattered chase for approval, pleasure, and distraction. But with it, everything begins to align. Why does this matter in the morning? Because the mind is unshaped when you first rise. It's like warm clay, soft, moldable. If you press your purpose into it early, it sets. But if you leave it to the world will shape it into fear, envy, and aimless busyness. So open your notebook, not a random sheet, one dedicated to your life's aim. Read it aloud, every word. Remind yourself what you're building and why it matters. Speak not only of the result, but of the character you must embody to deserve it. You say you want freedom, wealth, impact, then you must review it as if it already exists. Let that fire guide your steps. Imagine an archer pulling back his bow each morning without looking at the target. He might fire 100 arrows, but none will hit the mark. You are the archer. Your aim is your responsibility. Ask yourself, what am I truly working toward? Am I moving with direction or merely moving? Each morning, center yourself in your vision, because when your aim is clear, your decisions become easy and your power multiplies. Strengthen the discipline muscle. Discipline is not a mood, it is a muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens through repetition, especially in the morning when the body resists and the mind seeks comfort. You don't wait for the feeling, you train it. The truth is, if you only do what you feel like doing in the morning, you'll live a life of regret. But if you do what you promised yourself, even when it's cold, inconvenient, or uncomfortable, you'll build a character that cannot be broken. So begin each day with a task that requires effort, something that demands obedience, not to others, but to your higher self. It could be a cold rinse, a morning walk, a handwritten letter to your future self. Anything that says, I command my will. Most people train their comfort. You must train your grit. Imagine a farmer refusing to tend his fields because he's not in the mood. How long before his harvest rots? But you are not a slave to your feelings. You are the master of your intention. Discipline, when trained in the morning, becomes a shield for the entire day. So ask yourself, what small battle will I win this morning to prove that I am stronger than my excuses? You want to attract success? Then act like the man success wants to meet. Disciplined, sharp, ready. The more mornings you win, the fewer days you waste. Practice inner stillness before action, before the noise of the world comes crashing in. Before the messages, the voices, the obligations, you must sit with yourself. There is a stillness within you that the world has taught you to ignore. It is not empty. It is not passive. It is power in its purest, most concentrated form. And every morning, before the day begins, you must return to that place. Not out of ritual, but out of necessity. Because that quiet center inside you is the difference between reacting blindly and responding with purpose. It is not a retreat. It is where the battle begins. Most people wake up and rush. They sprint into the day as if time is their master and not their tool. But this is like a soldier running onto the battlefield without a plan, without knowing who the enemy is, where the traps lie, or why he's even fighting. The result is exhaustion, chaos, aimlessness, and regret. But you are not most people. You must begin differently. You begin by not beginning right away. You close your eyes. You breathe slowly. You sit still. Because in that stillness, something ancient stirs. Your own voice, the one that gets drowned out by the demands of others, the one that remembers your purpose, your principles, your path. In those quiet moments, you ask, what weight am I still dragging from yesterday? Resentment? Regret? Overthinking? Let it go. Burn it in the silence. Release it before it becomes a shadow on the day ahead. Stillness is not laziness. It is strategy. Imagine a blacksmith swinging a hammer at cold iron. He'll sweat, he'll shout, he'll strike, but nothing will bend. Yet the moment he waits for the heat, the metal softens, and suddenly his force has purpose. His effort has impact. That's what your stillness is, the heat. Without it, your day will be a series of empty blows. But with it, your smallest act becomes deliberate, sharp, powerful. So give yourself the gift of presence. A few minutes, no movement, no talk, just awareness. Watch your thoughts come and go. Let your mind settle like stirred water going calm. Then ask, if today were the last chance I had to give my gift to this world, how would I act? Would I be reactive? Would I waste it? Or would I move with clarity, with love, with fire? Because action alone is not enough. Anyone can move, but to move with intention, to strike when the metal is ready, that is mastery. That is where legacies begin. Stillness before motion. Reflection before ambition. That is the rhythm of those who lead, those who last, those who build something eternal. Decide what you will refuse today. Every morning, before the world gets its hands on you, you must meet a silent enemy. It doesn't arrive with fire or noise. It comes quietly, disguised as small choices, harmless diversions, well-meaning interruptions, and if you don't confront it, it will take everything, not with a single blow, but with 1,000 soft cuts. Most people don't lose the day because they failed to plan. They lose it because they never decided what not to allow. They never drew the boundary. They never stood guard at the gate of their focus. And so the day is hijacked by distractions, by the urgency of others, by demands that have nothing to do with their purpose. You must wake up each day with a refusal. Not anger, not resistance for its own sake, but a clear, unwavering decision about what will not be allowed into your time, your thoughts, your actions. Because success is not just built on what you pursue, it is protected by what you reject. Your boundaries are your shield, and if you do not create them, someone else will create them for you. Most men don't fall because of grand mistake. They fall because of quiet compromise. They say yes to a meeting they don't need. They open a message that derails their focus. They explain themselves to someone who never listens, and slowly, inch by inch, they give away the very power they swore to protect. Why? Because they never made the decision before the moment came. You must. You must draw the line before the day begins. You must rise not just with plans, but with a conviction about what you won't do. Each morning, choose one thing you will not permit. Speak it aloud, not for drama, but for clarity. Today I will not chase approval. Today I will not argue with fools. Today I will not break my word to myself, because when you speak it, you anchor it. You set your compass before the winds come. Otherwise, like a captain sailing without a map, you may move, but you'll never arrive. You'll respond to every gust of wind, every wave of emotion, every demand for your attention, and you'll call it productivity, but you'll be lost. Leadership begins with self-denial, not denial of joy or rest, but denial of anything that betrays your deeper mission. To refuse something is not weakness, it is strength. It is the visible expression of self-respect. So ask yourself now, clearly and without hesitation, what must I deny today to protect what I am building? What distraction, habit, or expectation must you meet with silence or a firm no? Because the most powerful choice you can make at sunrise is not what you'll do, but what you will not allow. Take dominion over your thoughts. You are not your thoughts, but you are the master responsible for them. You do not control every idea that enters your mind, but you do control which ones you entertain, which ones you feed, and which ones you allow to take root. And if you do not rise each morning with that authority in hand, your thoughts will take that authority from you. They will command you, they will lead you, and they will lead you nowhere you want to go. The average man wakes up and immediately becomes a slave, not to another man, but to his own unchecked thinking. He begins the day in a fog of regret over the past, fear about the future, envy of others, and dissatisfaction with his present. These thoughts do not ask permission, they arrive. And because he never questions them, he surrenders to them. And then he wonders why life feels heavy, why nothing changes, why his motivation slips away by noon, but you are not average. You do not let the mind wander like an unsupervised child. You stand watch over it. You govern it, because you understand this simple truth. Your thoughts shape your world. Each morning, before the world speaks, before people demand things from you, you must speak to yourself. You must stand as a sentry at the gate of your mind. Look at every thought passing through. Ask, does this thought strengthen me or weaken me? Does it make me sharper or softer? And if it does not serve you, replace it. Do not argue with it. Do not indulge it. Replace it. You are not a passive passenger. You are the architect. And architects do not let rotten beams remain in their design. This is the discipline the great men knew, from Marcus Aurelius to Benjamin Franklin, from Epictetus to Carnegie. The mind is a garden, they understood, and no garden grows what you want by accident. If you neglect it, weeds flourish. Doubt, fear, self-pity, these require no effort to grow. But when you rise with purpose and tend to the soil of your thoughts, something else begins to take root. Clarity, resolve, belief, power. That is the daily discipline. That is how giants are made. So every morning, ask yourself clearly, what thought must I release today? What is still lingering from yesterday's failure, or last week's betrayal, or last year's shame? And what thought must I feed instead? Is it faith in yourself? A vision of what's possible? A decision that you will rise, even if you failed before? Speak it aloud if you must. Today I release every thought that weakens me. I dwell only on what builds my future. Replace every complaint with one act of gratitude. Replace every fear with a single step forward. Replace every excuse with a reason to move. This is not magic. This is mental strength, and it is earned every morning in silence. Imagine a builder with the finest tools, the strongest bricks, the most beautiful design, yet he builds on unstable sand. His mansion will fall not because of poor material, but because of poor foundation. Your thoughts are that foundation. If they are soft, your actions will crumble. If they are sharp, your progress will endure. So begin each day by laying that foundation again. Choose your thoughts as a wise man chooses his companions. Not every idea deserves your time. Not every emotion deserves your attention. You do not owe your energy to every voice that speaks inside your mind. You owe it only to the ones that make you stronger, because in the end, your life will never grow beyond the strength of the thoughts that hold it up. Guard them, shape them, and they will build a life worthy of your power. Move your body like a man who commands life. Your body is not a lifeless machine to be pushed through tasks. It is a living declaration, a reflection of your inner state, a visible, undeniable message to the world and to yourself about who you are and how you intend to show up. Every gesture, every breath, every step in the first hour of your morning is not just movement. It is a statement. Slouched shoulders whisper defeat. Dragging feet suggest doubt. Idle hands reveal hesitation. But when you move like a man with purpose, when your steps are firm, your shoulders back, your breath deep, you tell the day exactly who's in charge. You don't need a gym membership to reclaim your strength. You don't need a marathon to prove your discipline. What you need is intention, awareness, a choice to use your body not as a burden to carry, but as a tool of power. The first hour after you wake is sacred. It sets the rhythm for everything that follows. And the man who controls his first hour often ends up controlling the rest of his life. Stand tall as you rise. Roll your shoulders back. Plant your feet with force. Stretch, not lazily, but with strength, as if you are awakening a warrior that's been resting overnight, not a tired soul dragging himself into another day of obligation. When you walk, walk with speed, not rush. Speed, there is a difference. Rushing is anxious. Speed is decisive. Let your movement declare that you are a man of clarity, not confusion. That you are a man of action, not apology. There is ancient wisdom in this. The warriors of old, from Spartans to samurai, begin each morning not with words, but with rituals of the body. They moved, trained, breathed, focused. It wasn't about looking strong. It was about being strong. It was about commanding their bodies before the world tried to. They understood something we often forget. When the body obeys the mind begins to believe in itself. Confidence is not just a feeling, it is a habit. And the first habit is movement. Ask yourself each morning, what kind of man do I want to feel like today? Not someday. Today. Do you want to feel bold and walk like it? Do you want to feel calm? Then move with composure. Do you want to feel powerful? Then take up space with your presence. Your body can access emotions that the mind alone cannot reach. It can pull you out of weakness before your mind has even formed a complete thought. Picture a lion waking up. He does not crawl. He does not sigh. He does not hesitate. He rises, shakes the dust from his mane, and moves forward with silent authority. There is no announcement, no permission, just motion. You were born with the same potential, but the world will make you forget unless you remind yourself daily. Let your body be that reminder. Let it speak before your mouth does. When your chest is lifted, your spine tall, your jaw set, you activate something ancient inside you, a kind of primal certainty. You no longer chase motivation, you become motivation. Your body, your pace, your breath, it all tells the story. This is a man who knows where he's going. So start every day with deliberate motion. Wake the warrior, shake off weakness, move like your future depends on it, because it does. Nothing attracts success, respect, or power more than a man who carries himself like he already owns the outcome. And when you do that, the world responds. The day obeys, and you walk through it not as a servant of time, but as its master. Speak gratitude with conviction. Gratitude is not a soft murmur whispered into the void. It is a declaration of power. It is the voice of a man who sees clearly, a man who refuses to let the weight of what's missing eclipse the worth of what already is. And when you begin your morning with that kind of gratitude, not vague, not hollow, but rooted and real, you awaken something far greater than good feelings. You awaken alignment, power, momentum, the kind of force that shifts not just your mood, but your direction. Most men get it backwards. They wait. They wait for circumstances to improve before they speak thanks. They wait for the bank account to fill, the recognition to come, the problems to solve themselves. And then they say they will be grateful. But that's not gratitude. That's reward. And life was never designed to give reward before recognition. It is gratitude first. Gratitude in the silent. Gratitude in the struggle. That unlocks the gates to more. You don't give thanks after life gives you something. You give thanks so life knows you're ready. Every morning, speak aloud 3 things you are grateful for. Not to check a box, not to be positive, but because this is how you rise above lack. This is how you look life in the eye and say, I see what you've given me, and I'm still here to build on it. Don't whisper it. Say it like you would say your name. Say it like it means something. I have breath in my lungs. I have strength in my legs. I have a mind that still believes. This isn't poetry, it's armor. And if you wake up feeling like there's nothing to be grateful for, look again. Look deeper. You're alive. You're breathing. You've survived every hard day you swore would break you. You're not done. You're still in the fight. And that makes you richer than millions who have quit. There are people with more comfort than you who would trade it all just to feel what you still feel. Hunger, drive, the fire that hasn't gone out. Gratitude is not sentiment, it is strategy. It does something chemical. It lifts your mind from fear and forces your perspective to shift. It breaks the illusion of scarcity that strangles your confidence. It places your attention not on what you lack, but on what you can build. Because you can't be both grateful and afraid. You can't be truly thankful and bitter. When you choose gratitude, you choose power, you choose clarity. Ask yourself, what am I already standing on that I've forgotten to be thankful for? What people, principles, or second chances have I stepped over, never realizing they were the foundation beneath me? Imagine a traveler crossing a long bridge, steady, dependable, and never once looking down to realize what's holding him up. Don't be that man. Look down, look back, look in, and then say, thank you, not just once, not just with your lips. Say it with your posture, with your breath, with the way you rise from your chair and step into the day. Because when you express gratitude, you're not just making yourself feel better. You are sending a message to life itself. I recognize what you've done for me. I honor it, and I'm ready for more. More opportunity, more responsibility, more peace, more challenge. Gratitude makes room for all of it. Gratitude is not weakness. It is the mind's proof of maturity. It is the strength to stop waiting and start seeing. It is the practice of those who rise, not because life is easy, but because they have learned to begin each day with open eyes and open hearts. And when you do that, when gratitude becomes your morning fire, you will notice something strange. The world begins to respond in kind. Opportunities seem to appear. Burdens feel lighter. Conversations shift, not because life changed, but because you did. So let your gratitude speak loudly. Let it lead your morning like a war drum, not a lullaby. And step into the day knowing this: the man who begins with thanks ends with strength. Rehearse the hardest thing you must do today every day. Arrives with its own mountain. Sometimes it's obvious. A conversation you've been avoiding, a project you've delayed, a challenge you've convinced yourself you're not ready for. Other times it hides beneath smaller tasks and petty distractions, waiting until you're too tired to fight back. But whether it's bold or buried, the mountain is always there. And if you don't face it in your mind first, it will crush you when it appears in your path. The weight of it doesn't grow throughout the day. Your energy to confront it weakens. That's why morning matters. Most men wake up and negotiate with the mountain. They postpone the difficult task, telling themselves they'll get to it later. They do a dozen small things first, hoping that momentum will carry them into the hard thing, but it rarely does. Momentum built on avoidance collapses the moment resistance rises. These men seek comfort before clarity, ease before effort, and in doing so they betray their own strength. But you must not walk that path. You must be different. You must meet the mountain before the world demands your attention, not in fear but in preparation, not with dread but with deliberate mental rehearsal. Sit still, breathe, close your eyes, and visualize it, the hardest task of the day, not in abstract terms, not as a looming shadow, but as a specific action. See the details, the conversation, the writing, the confrontation, the decision. Whatever it is, bring it into the center of your mind. Do not push it aside. Now, watch yourself doing it. Watch the calm in your body. Watch the way you begin, not with hesitation, but with clarity. See your hands move. Hear your voice steady. Feel yourself complete the thing you've been tempted to avoid. This practice is not fantasy, it is mental combat training. Your brain does not distinguish well between imagined mastery and real-world success. It wires itself to whatever you feed it. So when you mentally rehearse the hardest part of your day, calmly, confidently, you plant in your nervous system a memory of victory. You are no longer guessing whether you can do it. You have already seen yourself succeed. And this changes how you walk, it changes how you breathe, it changes how you begin. Why is this so powerful? Because the hardest part of the hard thing is not the doing, it is the dreading. It's the tension, the delay, the anticipation that drains your strength. When you eliminate that by rehearsing the task first thing in the morning, you arrive not as a victim of the challenge, but as the one who has already endured it in the mind. You no longer hope to overcome it, you expect to. That expectation becomes your armor. It shields your will from the onslaught of hesitation. Ask yourself plainly, what am I most tempted to avoid today? What is the one thing that, if done, would make everything else feel lighter? What pain am I postponing? What weight have I decided to carry until the last possible hour? And then ask the more important question, what would happen if I faced it now? Before it grows bigger, darker, heavier in my imagination, most men polish every other weapon, but avoid the one blade they must actually use. They sharpen skills they don't need, tidy areas that are already under control, and hide behind preparation that never ends. But that's not strength, it's polished cowardice. You must be the opposite. You must reach for the blade you fear to touch. The task that scares you is the task that builds you. The conversation that tightens your chest is the one that opens your future. The decision that keeps you awake is the one that leads to freedom. Face it. Write it down. Don't let it live vaguely in your mind. Name the hard thing. Declare it on paper with finality. And then say it aloud, not for the world, but for yourself. This I will do first, not because it is easy, not because I want to, but because it shapes the man I must become. Success does not crown the man who dances around difficulty. It crowns the man who confronts it early and often, who wakes up and makes courage his first act of the day, who walks straight toward the thing others delay, knowing that the pain is temporary, but the power earned is permanent. That is how the mountain is moved. Not all at once, not without effort, but with one clear decision made before the day begins. I will not run. I will rise. Look yourself in the eye and speak with power. You begin each day in one of two ways, either as a stranger to yourself or as the commanding force of your own destiny. There is no in-between. The man who avoids his reflection, who walks past the mirror like it's a ghost he doesn't want to face, begins the day lost. But the man who dares to meet his own gaze, who stands tall and speaks truth into the mirror, that man becomes unshakable. Because he does not rely on the world to remind him of who he is. He reminds himself. Most men see the mirror as a surface, a tool for grooming, a place to check appearances. But you must see it as a battlefield. A place where you meet your first and most important opponent, the version of yourself that wants to stay small. That version will always whisper, "You're tired, you're not enough, maybe tomorrow." And if you don't answer him with something stronger, he will win. This is not about vanity. It is about vision. It is about training your eyes to see not just who you were yesterday, but who you are becoming today. It's about speaking power into the man in front of you until that power becomes real. Until it becomes the atmosphere you carry into the world. Stand before the mirror, shoulders back, eyes locked, not as a ritual for comfort, but as a declaration of intent. And speak, not softly, not passively, but with conviction, with force. Say, I am the one who rises. I am the one who delivers. I am the man who does not wait for permission. I am the builder, not the beggar. These are not empty affirmations. They are verbal blueprints. Every word is a command you issue to the soldier within. You must understand, this practice is not superstition. It is self-command. And the man who refuses to acknowledge himself each morning invites chaos. He walks into his day with no standard, no spine, no compass. Doubt creeps in because nothing strong was said to guard against it. Drift sets in because no course was declared. Ask yourself now, with complete honesty, when was the last time I looked myself in the eye and meant what I said? When was the last time you spoke a promise into your reflection and followed through? Not because someone was watching, but because you were? That is the measure of integrity, not public performance, but private allegiance. So speak promises, bold ones, not to impress, not to perform, but to bind yourself. Say, today I will finish. Today I will confront what I've avoided. Today I will lead without waiting to be led. Say these things with weight. Let your words become a covenant, a sacred bond between your reflection and your future. You do not speak because you are already strong. You speak so that strength awakens. Picture a general walking into the war room, eyes lowered, avoiding his own reflection in the glass, afraid of what he might see. That's how most people live, dodging themselves, hoping to stumble into greatness without facing their own weakness first. But not you. You will face yourself, even when the truth is uncomfortable, even when yesterday was a failure. You'll speak anyway. You'll say, "Today I rise again," because your words are not commentary, they are commands. And here is what happens when you do this day after day. Something shifts. At first it feels like performance, then it becomes practice, and eventually it becomes belief. The more you speak to the man in the mirror, the more he begins to listen, and the more he listens, the more he obeys. You say, "I lead," and soon you find yourself leading. You say, "I finish," and your hands start moving. You say, "I rise," and even on tired days, your posture follows the command. You're not trying to convince the world, you're convincing yourself. And that is the most powerful kind of persuasion, because no force on earth can match the momentum of a man who has convinced himself of who he truly is. Not the man the world tries to label, not the man chained to past failures, but the man who dares to rise again, look himself in the eye, and speak with certainty about where he's going. Do not check the time. Go to the mirror, look at the man waiting there, and speak to him like his future depends on it, because it does. Visualize your victory before it arrives. The world does not bend to wishful thinking. It does not respond to hesitation, nor does it reward the man who doubts himself. It responds to certainty, and certainty is born not in the hands, but in the mind. Before a man ever moves, before he speaks, before he strikes a deal or lifts a single brick, he must see, not vaguely, not as a hope, but as a vision. The world obeys the man who has already walked through his future in his imagination, who has already built his life in thought before he lays a single stone in action. Each morning you have a decision. Begin as a man reacting to the world, or begin as the man designing it. The latter is the one who wins. And he begins not with noise, not with the chase for tasks, but with silence, with vision, with imagination so vivid it becomes instruction. Close your eyes. Strip the morning of its chaos. Let the world wait. This is your time. This is your battlefield before the battlefield. Now see the life you are building. Not just the outer image, but the inner man who earns it. See the discipline in your hands as you work, the clarity in your thoughts as you speak, the calm in your presence, the fire in your movement. You are not just imagining money, applause, or titles. You are envisioning the man, the builder, the conqueror, the finisher. You are shaping him like a sculptor holds clay, pressing into it with conviction, not fantasy. You turn the image in your mind again and again, sharpening it. The room you walk into as a man of power, the footsteps echoing with confidence, the voice that no longer wavers, the look in your eyes after you've kept every promise to yourself. This is not fiction. This is rehearsal. This is what the wise have always known. The body follows the mind. Action bends to thought. The man who has seen himself win clearly, repeatedly, cannot help but walk toward it with stronger steps. His breath is deeper. His spine is straighter. His words carry weight because they come from a place that has already built the end result. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, have I truly seen my life beyond the obstacle, or have I only imagined what might go wrong? Most men spend more time visualizing failure than victory. They walk through worst-case scenarios as if rehearsing for misery will somehow protect them. But it doesn't. It weakens them. It wires the brain for collapse. It teaches the nervous system to flinch. You cannot build what you fear. You cannot hold in your hands what you have not first embraced in your mind. So stop rehearsing disaster. Start rehearsing dominance. Before you leave the house, before you answer messages or meet people or touch your work, see it. Drench your mind in certainty. Not wishful certainty, but earned. Not based on ease, but on inevitability. Your life must be built, not by chance, not by someone else, but by you, for you, because of you. You are the source. You are the builder. You are the one who will carve it into existence. Imagine a warrior stepping onto a battlefield, but not blindly. He has already seen the terrain, already dreamed the charge, already heard the cry of triumph in his mind's ear. He is not guessing. His sword is already drawn in his imagination. That is why his step does not shake. That is why his eyes do not wander. That is why, even in the face of difficulty, his spirit does not yield. He is not reacting. He is fulfilling a vision. This is how you must begin your day. Not by accident, but by design. You do not wait for motivation. You summon it. You do not hope for clarity, you create it. The movie of your success must play behind your eyes like a reel that never stops. Frame by frame, action by action, you see it, you believe it, you move toward it with hunger. And something incredible happens when you do this, not once, but daily. Your mind begins to refuse anything less. You've seen yourself win, and now mediocrity feels unnatural. You've seen yourself deliver, and now delay feels like betrayal. You've seen the victory, and now every small act, every hard moment becomes a step in fulfilling what you already own in spirit. This is the secret of the relentless. They don't stumble into greatness. They decide it, visualize it, commit to it, and then act accordingly. Their vision is so detailed, so visceral, so consistent that the world begins to align, not because the world changed, but because they did. So tomorrow morning, and every morning after, before you build with your hands, build with your mind. Before you carry the burden, carry the image. The vision must come first, not a vague hope, not a fuzzy goal, but a vivid, living reality seen behind your eyes. Because the man who has already seen himself win is dangerous. He moves differently. He does not beg life for favors. He claims what's his. And the world listens because it always listens to the one who already knows. Practice mastery over one tiny habit. Every mountain ever climbed began not with the summit, but with a single step. Every empire that once ruled the earth began not with armies, but with the discipline of a single law. And every life that becomes legendary begins not with applause or recognition, but with a single deliberate act, a small habit, repeated daily, overlooked by the world, but honored by the man who performs it. This is the origin of greatness, not in fireworks, but in quiet repetition, not in chance, but in choice. If you want to build a life that few can even imagine, you must first build a morning that reflects that vision. And it begins not with everything, but with one thing, one small act, executed with total commitment, not as a chore, not as an item to check off, but as a declaration of who you are and who you are becoming. It doesn't matter what the act is, not at first. It could be the making of your bed with military precision, a cold shower to spark your discipline, a 10-minute session of silence to master your thoughts, a handwritten sentence in your goal book that says, "Today, I move forward." The ritual itself can change, but the rule must remain. It must be done without failure, without complaint, without compromise, because this one act is not about the task, it's about the message. The message you send to your mind every single morning, I'm in command. Before the noise, before the pressure, before anyone else speaks into your day, you've already spoken. You've declared to yourself, I don't wait for permission. I don't need perfect conditions. I move. I act. I begin. Most men fall into the trap of thinking their life will change only when something big happens. They wait for the perfect idea, the breakthrough moment, the external motivation to carry them into action. But the man who changes everything is the one who changes one thing and does it until it becomes unbreakable, a pillar, a rhythm, a law written into his bones, because habits are not isolated. They are contagious. Mastery over one thing bleeds into another. When you take control of a small area of your life, your mind begins to believe you can take control of more. You start to look at bigger tasks and think, if I can do that small thing without fail, I can do this too. That's how empires are built. Not by sudden conquest, but by daily discipline. And it all begins in the quiet hours, when no one is watching, when nothing is urgent, except your commitment. Ask yourself, what one small thing can I conquer today that will make me feel like I'm already winning? That one thing becomes your signal, your strike of the match. It doesn't matter how chaotic the rest of your day may be. If you win that small beginning, you carry momentum. You walk into the day with the energy of victory, not reaction. You've already made a move. You've already acted like the man you say you are. That momentum is not physical, it's mental. It creates a current in your mind, a direction, a focus, a sense of control. Do not despise simplicity. The sharpest blade is not forged in one blazing strike. It is formed in the repetition of strokes, again and again, until what was once dull becomes unbreakable. Excellence is not built in bursts. It is built in the tension of routine, in the consistency that turns discipline into identity. Imagine a man who walks into his day not rushing, not lost, not seeking external cues to decide how he feels, but already certain, already grounded, already proud. Not because he won a war, not because he gained applause, but because he won the first 5 minutes. That kind of victory carries a gravitational pull. The rest of the day follows its lead. You are no longer reacting to life, you are directing it. So choose your habit, one habit, and make it law. Not preference, not a should, make it non-negotiable. Whether tired, busy, discouraged, or behind schedule, it gets done. That commitment becomes your armor, your proof. Every time you do it, you reinforce something powerful in your subconscious. I am who I say I am. I do what I said I'd do. That kind of proof changes how you walk. It changes how you speak. It changes what you expect from yourself and from the world. Most people try everything and master nothing. They're spread thin, full of ambition, empty of discipline. But the man who becomes dangerous is the one who masters one. The one who says, this habit is mine. It belongs to me. No matter what happens, I will not fail at this. And when that truth is lived long enough, it becomes part of him. And once something becomes part of you, no one can take it away. That is the beginning. That is the mountain's first stone, the empire's first law, the life of greatness, hidden inside a quiet, consistent act, repeated every morning. So tomorrow, don't aim for everything. Aim for one. Do it with excellence. Do it without exception. Do it until it becomes who you are. Because success does not belong to the man who tries everything. It belongs to the man who masters the one. Repeat the law of compensation to yourself. The world pays you exactly what you earn. No more, no less. This is not cruelty, it is law. And law, when embraced, becomes power. If you want to rise, truly rise, you must anchor your mornings in this one unshakable truth. You are not compensated for what you desire. You are compensated for what you deliver. The world does not move for the man who complains, who waits, who hopes to be discovered. It moves for the one who brings value, clearly, consistently, and without needing applause to do so. Each morning, before the day floods in with its noise and tasks, you must speak the law aloud. I will be rewarded in direct proportion to the service I render, not for who I know, not for what I wish, not for the image I project, but for the real value I give day after day. Let these words settle into your bloodstream. Let them echo in your thoughts, because this law removes the fog. It burns away the illusions. It strips you of blame and fills you with direction. Suddenly, the path becomes clear. Not easy, but clear. You don't need to chase luck. You need to serve better. This law is powerful because it turns your gaze inward. It forces you to stop asking, why don't I have more? And start asking, what am I truly giving? That question pierces the ego. It shines light in corners you've ignored. Have you been giving your best, or just enough to get by? Have you been showing up like someone owed, or like someone grateful to contribute? Every morning is an opportunity to reset that answer. Each day you stand at the gate of another 24 hours, and you choose. You choose how you will show up, how much heart you will bring, how deeply you will serve. Not because someone told you to, not because it's who you are becoming. Ask yourself with ruthless honesty, what value do I bring today without being asked, without being reminded, without needing a reward at the end? That's the real measure of a man, not what he does when others are watching, but what he gives when no one demands it. The silent craftsman, the unseen warrior, the one who stays late, who perfects the work, who adds that final polish even when no customer will ever notice. That man builds something far more valuable than a paycheck. He builds reputation. And over time, reputation becomes leverage. Reputation becomes wealth. Imagine a craftsman who finishes each piece of work with such care that even if no one notices, he notices. He runs his hand along the smooth surface, proud, not because it earns him more money immediately, but because it reflects who he is. Over time, customers return, whispers spread. His name is carried into rooms he has not yet entered. That's how true wealth is built, not by chasing attention, but by chasing excellence. Because here's the truth most avoid. You are paid in spiritual gold before you are ever paid in coin. That gold is minted in the quiet moments, in the extra minutes you devote, in the depth of thought you bring to your work, in the way you carry yourself. Every action is a deposit. Every choice is a vote cast for the man you are becoming. So make a vow each morning, not to please others, not to get ahead, but to honor the standard you have set for yourself. Say it with quiet conviction. Today, I will give more than I take. I will outwork my position. I will over-deliver in silence. Let this be your creed. not your strategy. Because once it becomes who you are, the results will follow, not always immediately, but inevitably. You must understand, compensation is not a mystery. It is a mirror. The world reflects back to you not what you think you deserve, but what you actually earn. And if you consistently give more than you're paid for, you will eventually be paid more than you give. This is the secret that separates the average from the extraordinary. The average man waits to be noticed. The extraordinary man makes himself impossible to ignore. Not by noise, but by value. The irony is, the moment you stop chasing payment and start obsessing over service, the payment increases, not because you begged for it, but because you became too valuable to ignore. And value commands attention. It commands reward. It commands respect. Not in the loud way, in the lasting way. This day will reward me in direct proportion to what I give it. Nothing more, nothing less. The world is not unfair. It is exact. The mirror does not lie. And if you want it to reflect success, abundance, and strength, then give the day something worthy of reflection. Let others wait to be motivated. Let others wait to be paid more before they give more. But you will lead with service, you will lead with effort, you will lead with the silent power of a man who knows what he's worth and proves it before he speaks it. Because in the end, success does not belong to the loud, it belongs to the useful. And usefulness is built daily, quietly, relentlessly by those who understand that compensation isn't a gift, it's a response. Strengthen the courage to decide. The weak wait, the strong decide. And every single morning you are faced with that line drawn in the sand. You either step forward in decision or you shrink back into delay. This is not just philosophy, it is survival. Because life does not wait for you to feel ready. It moves, it shifts, and if you don't train yourself to choose, to act, to commit, you will be trampled beneath the weight of your own hesitation. Indecision is not harmless. It is a disease, a slow, silent killer of potential. It doesn't scream, it seeps. It eats at your time, erodes your focus, clouds your instincts, and leaves you standing still while life races past you. The man who cannot decide becomes a prisoner of every possible outcome, tortured by what-ifs, paralyzed by the fear of imperfection. But the man who decides, quickly, clearly, and with conviction, becomes a weapon, sharp, direct, unstoppable. This power must be trained daily, not once, not in the heat of big moments, but every morning before the world reaches for you. Before emails, voices, headlines, or obligations attempt to fracture your mind, you must renew the courage to decide, not just what to wear or what to eat, but how to live, how to move, how to lead yourself. Start your morning with 3 decisions, small but intentional. Decide how you will use your time. Will you command the hours or let them slip away? Decide how you will respond to challenge. Will you meet resistance with resolve or retreat? Decide who you will be, no matter what storms rise. Will you be reactive or relentless? These are not mere questions. They are calls to arms, because every day your energy is either directed or it is divided. And energy without direction builds nothing. A man who doesn't choose becomes a man who's constantly being pulled. Pulled by the opinions of others, pulled by the urgency of what doesn't matter, pulled by emotion, impulse, and the temporary comfort of postponement. But the man who makes decisions deliberately, consistently, becomes immovable. His days begin with purpose. His minutes serve a mission. His actions are not reactive, they are aligned. Why does this matter? Because decision is not just about speed, it's about strength. When you decide, you simplify. You conserve your power. You stop wasting mental energy on the same internal debate that's been stealing from you for days, weeks, or even years. A decision ends that cycle. It creates direction, and direction allows momentum to build. Even an imperfect decision made with resolve will take you further than the perfect decision made too late. Ask yourself now, in the quiet of morning, what am I still hesitating on? What choice have I avoided? What path have I stared at but never walked? What part of my life is crumbling because I have refused to choose? Picture a king standing at the crossroads of his kingdom. 2 roads stretch before him. Day after day, he returns to that same spot. He consults his advisors. He waits for better signs. He thinks. He doubts. And as he hesitates, his people weaken. His army loses faith. his power dissolves. Not because he chose wrongly, but because he chose nothing. Now picture another king, one who wakes, looks at the roads, and chooses, not with recklessness, but with resolve. He knows the risks. He knows the burden of leadership. But he also knows that direction, any direction, led with clarity, is better than paralysis. His army rallies, his kingdom moves, and even if the road is hard, they walk it together with purpose. You must become that king of your mind, of your schedule, of your destiny. Decide, and then move, because the longer you wait, the heavier the decision becomes, the more emotion wraps around it, the more doubt infects it, and eventually, you won't be choosing between two roads, you'll be choosing between motion and decay. Each morning, stand before your reflection, before the noise, before the demands, and speak decisiveness into your soul. I do not wait. I do not drift. I decide and I advance. Say it with force, with clarity, with the authority of a man who is no longer interested in being a wanderer. Because the world is not moved by those who hesitate. It is moved by the few who dare to choose and stand by their choice. You will make mistakes. You will have moments of doubt. That is inevitable. But the man who decides, even wrongly, learns. He adapts. He grows. But the man who refuses to choose, he fades. He watches his potential rot in the comfort of indecision. So build the habit. Carve the ritual into your mornings. 3 decisions, made before the world opens its mouth. What will I do? How will I act? Who will I be? These answers are not distant. They are immediate, and they are yours to command. Because the man who begins his day with decision will end it with progress. And eventually, the world will begin to respond, not with confusion, but with respect. Not as if you are lost, but as if you are leading, because you are. Fortune does not stumble upon the passive. It seeks the decisive, the ones who no longer wait, the ones who move with fire, the ones who say, I have decided. Now watch me build. Affirm that you control your emotions. You are not some leaf to be tossed by the storm. You are not some leaf to be tossed by the storm. You were not born to flinch every time life raises its voice. Within you is the power to govern the most unruly kingdom in the world, your own emotions. And if you are to live with strength, clarity, and direction, you must begin each morning by claiming that power. Before the world has the chance to demand, insult, or distract, you must stand alone with yourself and say, I control my emotions. They do not control me. This is not a chant. This is not a motivational quote to decorate your wall. This is law. Law over your inner world. Because without it, every outer success will eventually fall apart. The man who rises on waves of emotion will always fall in the valleys they create. He will speak too soon, react too strongly, quit too early. But the man who governs his emotions, he rules his life. Not because he feels less, but because he responds. Discipline begins not in the body, but in the mind. And not just in what you think, but in what you allow yourself to feel without becoming consumed. It begins the moment your eyes open. Before anyone has said a word, before any circumstance arises. In that still moment, you must plant your flag. Today, I will not be swayed by insult. I will not be moved by fear. I will not crumble before pressure. I remain steady. This is not denial, it is refinement. You are not ignoring emotion. You are mastering it. To feel deeply and yet choose deliberately, that is not weakness. That is the highest form of strength. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can get swept up. But to feel the heat of anger, the pull of discouragement, the shadow of fear, and still choose your next move with clarity, that is rare. That is power. That is manhood in its purest form. So you must ask yourself in the quiet of morning, what emotion has ruled me lately? Is it frustration, self-doubt, bitterness, jealousy? Ask, not to indulge it, but to confront it, because what you do not name, you cannot lead. And what you do not lead will rule you. You may think it's just a mood, but moods have a way of becoming your mindset, and mindsets become your life. You cannot afford to let a single sour emotion dictate the tone of your entire day. You cannot allow a careless word from someone else to break your focus. What is one moment of offense compared to a life of purpose? What is one uncomfortable feeling compared to the work you've set out to do? Every morning, you step into a courtroom, and the judge is your mind. There, you decide what thoughts are allowed to remain and which must be cast out. And if you do not sit in that chair, Emotion will sit in it for you. Imagine a man who every time the wind changed direction, stopped and rebuilt his house. He would never know rest, never know strength, never build anything lasting. But the wise man digs deep. He builds a foundation that does not sway with the weather. It is rooted in principle, in purpose, in self-command. That must be you. You cannot stop the winds from blowing, but you can refuse to be moved by every gust. So, speak it with authority, out loud, not as a hope, but as an order you give to yourself. Today, I will choose my response. I will not be owned by my feelings. I command myself. Say it with force. Let your voice carry it from your chest to your mind until your body understands that this is the man in charge. Because by noon, the storm will come. It always does. Something will break. Someone will misunderstand you. A delay will tempt you to rage or retreat. That is life. But life's chaos will find, not a man scrambling to react, but a man who has already fortified his mind. A man who, in the silence of dawn, built his inner fortress, brick by brick. A man who does not seek comfort, but commands composure. And when the storm tests his gates, it finds them locked, not by chance, but by choice. This is the quiet strength that wins, not the loudest man in the room, not the one who performs resilience for the world, but the one who, in solitude, chooses it before it's needed. The one who builds his calm like a warrior sharpens his sword, daily, privately, relentlessly. And this must be you. You must choose to win not just your goals, but your emotions. Because a man who loses himself to feeling is a man who can be manipulated, distracted, delayed. But the man who wins his emotions at dawn, he becomes untouchable by dusk. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, when the stillness is yours, don't rush into the world. Don't start with noise. Start with mastery. Declare it again. I am not ruled by feeling. I am ruled by principle. I am calm. I am clear. I command myself and carry that fire into the day, not to destroy, but to build. Build your thoughts. Build your work. Build your legacy, because the world does not belong to the most emotional man. It belongs to the most disciplined one. Study one sentence that elevates your thinking. Words have power, not the shallow, forgettable power of noise and chatter, but the deep, shaping force of truth when chosen like a blade and wielded in silence. And nowhere is this more evident than in the morning, when your mind is still soft like clay and your spirit is ready to be carved into form. In that sacred stillness, before the world starts shouting, before messages arrive and duties pull you in a dozen directions, you have a window, a moment, a chance to take hold of a single idea and let it raise your mental altitude like the first gust of wind under a rising eagle. You don't need 100 voices in your head each morning. You need one principle, one sentence, one line of truth that hits you like a bell and continues to ring all day. Find it, read it slowly, speak it aloud, not in a whisper, but as if you were making a vow. And then ask yourself, how will I live this today? Most men treat wisdom like fast food, consumed quickly, forgotten faster. They collect quotes, highlight books, repost ideas, only to go about their day unchanged. They chase more and more words, hoping that volume will make up for the lack of depth, but it never does, because truth doesn't transform you when you read it. It transforms you when you live it. You must not collect words. You must apply them. You must build your days around them. And this begins not with volume, but with focus. A single sentence, truly understood and consciously practiced, has the power to shift your posture, your tone, your entire rhythm. The mind, freshly awakened, is not meant to be crowded. It is meant to be guided. And that guidance begins with a single thread of meaning, woven deeply into your thoughts. Say you come across a line like, "The man who serves best earns most." You could skim it and nod, or you could carry it like a sword. You could let it shape how you treat people during your day. Let it direct how you approach your work, how you respond to pressure, how you measure your success. It becomes your lens, your compass, your quiet challenge to rise above impulse and into principle. Just one line, fully lived. This is not just about self-help. This is ancient. This is what the Stoics did, what warriors did, what monks, masters, and builders of all kinds have always done. They didn't rush to learn everything. They chose one truth, and they lived it until it shaped them. That's how men are made, not by accumulation, but by application. Ask yourself now, Am I rushing to learn everything or slowing down to live one truth fully? Because there's a difference. And that difference defines not just how you think, but who you become. Imagine a mason. He tries to build an entire wall in one day. He grabs stones, stacks them fast, lays them without care. By evening, the wall stands, just barely. And by morning, it's cracked, collapsed, forgotten. Now, picture another mason. He rises each morning and lays one stone perfectly. With focus, with care, he checks the alignment, the base, the mortar. He finishes his stone, steps back, and walks away. The next day, he does it again and again. A year later, he has a wall, not hurried, but eternal, built to endure storms, built to last. Your mind is that wall, and each morning you are laying a stone. You can rush and hope it stands, or you can slow down and build something worthy, something that won't collapse when life applies pressure. Choose your sentence like you choose your foundation, and lay it with care. This is not weakness. This is not minimalism for the sake of simplicity. This is strength. Because when you live by one clear principle each day, your energy is not scattered, it is sharpened. You become decisive, focused, clear, and in a world that moves too fast, clarity is rare power. So tomorrow morning, don't open 10 tabs. Find one idea, one sentence, the kind that makes you pause, the kind that speaks to something in you that's still growing. Write it down. Say it aloud. Reflect on it like a sculptor runs his hands along the edge of a statue. Let it become part of how you move, because the man who learns deeply, even one line, gains more than the man who reads 1,000 and changes nothing. One idea, lived fully, is more valuable than an entire library left on the shelf. And each morning, you are given the opportunity to choose depth over distraction, mastery over motion, foundation over flash. You don't need more knowledge, you need more use. And the mornings, quiet, focused, sacred, are your best time to build that use into habit, into rhythm, into identity. Words have power. Not when hoarded, not when repeated like mantras you barely understand, but when chosen carefully, applied deliberately, and lived courageously. So choose your sentence. Let it guide your hands, your tone, your presence. And in time, you will find that you haven't just learned something, you've become something. One sentence. Lived well. That's how greatness begins. Say no to the easy path. Each morning you wake is a silent challenge. The sun has not yet spoken. The world waits. But within you, two roads stand, one lined with warmth, comfort, indulgence, and quiet temptation. The other is cold, unwelcoming, steep with effort and discipline. You do not stroll into greatness. You decide into it. And the cruel trick of life is this. If you do not choose, the easy path will choose you. Not with a shout, but with a whisper. Rest a little more. Delay just a bit. Avoid the discomfort. And before you know it, the day has been surrendered. That is why the first act of the day must be a declaration, not to the world, but to yourself, aloud, with strength. Today I reject the easy path. I choose the difficult because it sharpens me. These words must not be a mantra. They must be a weapon, a blade drawn against weakness, a vow to your future self that you will not walk the path of average. Because the easy path flatters you. It seduces you. It offers no resistance, but that is its poison. For it is the resistance that forges strength. The easy path tells you you've earned a break long before you've built anything worth resting from. It gives you momentary relief and lifelong regret. It gives you temporary escape, but robs you of power. What begins as comfort slowly mutates into captivity. You may think you're simply choosing ease, but what you are actually doing is handing over your potential in exchange for softness. You trade discipline for dopamine. You trade the long-term reward for a fleeting sugar rush of ease. You wake with the possibility to become something formidable, but without resistance, that possibility fades into routine, into stagnation, into self-betrayal. So you must ask yourself, am I avoiding pain? Or am I becoming powerful? Because the two never walk hand in hand. The path to power is carved in discomfort. That's the cost. The ones who rise do not do so because it's easy. They rise despite the difficulty. They wake and walk into discomfort because they know that greatness does not welcome the weak-willed, and neither does life. The greats, those we read about, admire, study, they did not fall into success by accident. They did not stumble onto excellence. They chose discipline when desire screamed. They chose structure when mood whispered. They chose long-term triumph over short-term pleasure. That is the secret, plain and ignored. Every day they fought themselves before they fought the world. So start simple. Deny yourself one thing each morning, one indulgence, one craving, one shortcut, one excuse. This small refusal may feel meaningless, but it is not. It is a seed. And if you plant it daily, it grows roots. Each act of resistance to ease strengthens your identity as a person of power, not just of motivation, but of self-command. Imagine a soldier, strong in body but weak in mind, who one day says it's too cold to train. That one day becomes 2. That 2 becomes 10. Soon he forgets the battle. He forgets the mission. He forgets he was made for war. All because of one morning where comfort, that is the price of ease. It erodes your edge, slowly, without sound, until one day you wonder, where did my strength go? But picture instead the same man, waking before the sun, cold ground beneath his feet, fatigue in his bones, and still he moves. Not because it's pleasant, but because it is necessary. That moment, when he says no to ease and yes to the path of pain, that is the moment of remembrance. That is when he reconnects with his reason, his purpose, his power. Because success is not built on talent. It is built on refusals. Refusals to hit snooze. Refusals to indulge in weakness. Refusals to quit when no one is watching. These are the bricks that pave the path to mastery. Not the applause, not the gift, not the luck, but the private decisions that no one claps for. So, speak it now, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, with resolve. I do not follow the easy path. I create my own. These words are not just a rejection of comfort, they are a claim to identity. You are not what you feel, you are what you do, especially when doing it is hard. Each time you step forward while discomfort claws at your ankles, you send a message to your mind, I am in control. This is what separates the forgotten from the remembered, the ordinary from the legendary. The path of greatness is not inherited. It is carved with sweat, with refusal, with morning after morning of saying no to the world's soft lullabies and yes to the sharp call of growth. You will be tested daily, and not in grand ways. You will be tested in the ordinary. Will you rise when the bed tempts you? Will you focus when your mind wants to wander? Will you do the task when the mood is absent? These are the places where character is forged, not on stage, but in solitude, in silence, in sweat. So when the morning comes, and it will, don't wait for the right feeling, don't negotiate, don't bargain with weakness. Rise, speak, move, and carve. The world needs not more people who follow, it needs those who forge. Be the one who forges, the one who dares, the one who denies ease and chooses fire, because in the end, your life will reflect the path you chose every morning. Let it not be one of comfort, let it be one of conquest. Reconnect with your highest standards. Each morning is a quiet battlefield. Before the world floods your senses with noise, before opinions and distractions pull at your focus, you are given a moment, a sacred space, to decide who you will be. Not who the world wants you to be, not who you were yesterday, but who you must be if you're going to live a life carved in strength and not smudged by compromise. And in that moment, before your feet touch the ground, there's only one thing that matters: your standards. The world will try to sell you mediocrity dressed as acceptance. It will offer comfort as a substitute for clarity, distraction in place of direction. That's why you must anchor yourself each morning, not to what's normal, not to what's average, but to what is exceptional for you. Because if you don't, you won't even realize how far you've drifted. You'll wake up months later and wonder why you're not who you wanted to become. It won't be because you lacked dreams. It'll be because you lacked standards. The daily lines you refused to cross and refused to let be crossed. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. And that discipline is guarded by your standards. If you don't burn them into your mind daily, they will slip, quietly, silently, fatally. One compromised promise, one delayed decision, one soft excuse, until the man you are becoming is buried under layers of justifications. Don't start by drifting into someone else's agenda. Begin by facing yourself. Look in the mirror, not with vanity, but with clarity, and declare, this is who I am. This is how I operate. This is what I refuse to compromise. Say it aloud, mean it. Let your own words become your compass. Because your standards are not merely expectations, they are commands to yourself. Write them down. Not once, but daily. See them not as ideals, but as non-negotiables. The minimum threshold for your behavior, your focus, your integrity. Ask yourself, am I walking today like a man with standards or floating like a man with none? That question will tell you everything. Because a man without standards is like a ship without a keel. He may move, but he never leads. He may speak, but his words carry no weight. He may work, but his effort dissolves under pressure. Most people don't choose their standards. They inherit them from their parents, their surroundings, their peer group. They pick them up like lint, never questioning, never challenging. But you must build yours. Forge them. Choose them with fire in your chest and precision in your mind. Not once, but every morning, because even the strongest steel rusts if not maintained. So will your character if left unattended. Picture this, a captain at sea, sailing not by his own compass, but by another man's. He may look like he's making progress. His sails may be full. His crew may be working, but he's lost. He is moving, but not toward his own destiny. He'll arrive somewhere, sure, but not where he was meant to go. That's what happens when your standards are not your own. You live quickly, but not wisely, loudly, but not intentionally. So hold the compass, your compass. Define your lines and then hold them, not with arrogance, but with honor. Refuse to accept sloppy words. Refuse to entertain weak effort. Refuse to make excuses when discipline is required. And above all, refuse to tolerate anything less than your best from yourself. The real danger isn't in what others expect of you, it's in what you allow yourself to accept. Your life will never rise above the floor you've set, so set it high, and hold it. Say it now. Let it become your oath. Today, I hold the line. I uphold my code. I am not available for anything beneath the man I am becoming. Say it with your chest. Let your body feel the weight of those words. Because this isn't motivation, it's identity. And once your standards become who you are, discipline becomes natural. You don't need to force yourself to show up. You're simply living your code. And that is when transformation becomes inevitable. See, a man with standards doesn't chase greatness. He attracts it, not through flashy talk or declarations, but through consistency. He doesn't need to shout his values. They echo in how he lives, how he speaks, how he holds himself. He becomes magnetic to excellence, because excellence recognizes itself, and mediocrity, it cannot breathe around a man who stands tall in his non-negotiables. But remember, standards are not built in grand moments. They're built in small decisions. In brushing your teeth when you don't feel like it. In correcting your posture when no one is watching. In finishing the task even when your mood has vanished. These are the bricks that build the man. Not applause, not praise, but repetition. Quiet, powerful repetition of choices that say, I refuse to live beneath what I know I'm capable of. So each morning, before the world steals your attention, return to your standard. Recommit to it. Refuse to float. Refuse to follow. Refuse to forget who you're becoming. Let the day be shaped by you, not by chance, not by reaction, not by comfort. Because at the end of your life, you will not be proud of the dreams you spoke about. You will be proud of the standards you never broke. And when people ask you what changed, you won't say a moment. You'll say every morning, I chose. Recommit to the person you're becoming. The greatest tragedy isn't falling short. It isn't missing a target or stumbling on the climb. It's forgetting who you're becoming. The man you once envisioned, the one you promised to build with your time, your energy, your discipline, slowly dissolves when you stop remembering him each morning. That's why every single day must begin not just with action, but with a reunion, a reintroduction, a powerful meeting with the future you, the one you are shaping with every decision you make today. Before you check your messages or respond to the world's noise, close your eyes, see him, that man, the one you're chasing. He's not just a fantasy. He's your potential, waiting to be claimed. He stands with his shoulders back, his speech deliberate, his presence undeniable. He commands respect without needing to demand it. He earns success not through luck, but through relentless consistency. He is you, but only if you choose him again and again. So say it out loud. Today I recommit to becoming him. These aren't empty words, they are a vow. They are a line in the sand between who you've been and who you refuse to let go of. Let that vision of him burn behind your eyes. Let it anchor you to something greater than the moment, because the day ahead will tempt you with comfort, with chaos, with excuses, and unless you recommit to your future, the present will sweep you away into forgetfulness. Motivation is fleeting. It comes with music, with emotion, with bursts of clarity, but it fades. That's why recommitment is more powerful. Recommitment is a decision, not a feeling. It doesn't wait for the right mood, it creates the right direction. When you recommit, you override doubt, you overrule fatigue. You make a declaration, no matter how I feel, I will build today. That is how real transformation begins. Not in the grand moments, but in the quiet, steady decision to remember. Most men start with fire. They begin strong, speak boldly, declare their goals with excitement. But where are they when it gets hard? Where are they when progress slows, when failure visits, when routine sets in and applause disappears? Most of them vanish, not because they weren't capable, but because they never recommitted. They let time pass without returning to their vision, and slowly it died. Ask yourself this: who am I becoming? Not what do I want, not what do I hope, but who is that man I'm working to become? And then ask, what does that man expect of me this morning? Does he expect you to sleep in, to drift through your habits half awake, or does he demand precision, focus, effort, honor? Answer honestly, then write it down. Speak it aloud. Let your own voice become the fire that lights the way. Imagine a builder standing at the construction site of a house he dreamed of building. On day one, he has a blueprint, a vision, a clear direction. But each morning, instead of reviewing the plan, he builds from memory. He grabs what's nearby, sticks, stones, whatever he can find, and adds it to the frame. By day 10, the structure is crooked. By day 30, it collapses. Why? Not because he lacked tools, but because he lacked recommitment to the plan. That's how most people live, drifting, guessing, forgetting. But the builder who returns to the blueprint every morning, he builds with alignment. He checks his measurements. He corrects yesterday's errors. He remembers the design. He doesn't build what's easy, he builds what's true. And over time, something extraordinary rises. Not a ruin, but a monument, something that lasts, something that inspires, something that proves what's possible when you stay committed to the vision. This is your task, your calling, your discipline. Every morning, return to the blueprint. Don't let your life be a reaction. Let it be a construction. Stand firm and say, no matter how I feel, I recommit. No matter what happened yesterday, I recommit. I choose to build, because that choice, repeated daily, becomes identity. And once it becomes identity, it becomes destiny. You won't always feel powerful. You won't always feel clear. Some mornings your mind will be clouded. Your body will resist. Yesterday's failures will whisper shame. But that is precisely when recommitment matters most. Recommitment is not something you do when it's easy. It is the very thing that makes you strong when it's hard. It is the bridge between yesterday's stumble and today's rise. The man who achieves great things isn't the one who started perfectly. He's the one who refused to quit building, who came back to the plan when others drifted, who said yes again when everything in him wanted to say no, who remembered when everyone else forgot. That's where greatness comes from. Not in talent, not in genius, but in the relentless return to who you promised to become. So let this morning be that return. Stand before the mirror, not to check your hair, but to check your resolve. Close your eyes. See the man again. Hear him speak. Watch him lead. Feel what it's like to be him. Then open your eyes and make it your mission. Every word, every move, every task must reflect the man I saw. And if you fall short, fall forward. Then recommit again, because that is how monuments rise. One brick, one vow, one recommitment at a time. And the man you're building, he's worth every one of them. End the morning with a promise to persist. Your morning is not just a time to wake up. It is a moment of command. A moment to declare not just how you will feel, but who you will become. Too many men chase inspiration, drink from it like it's fuel, and then wait for it to last the whole day. But inspiration is a spark. It fades, it flickers. And if that's all you rely on, you will stop at the first sign of resistance. That is why your morning must not end with inspiration. It must end with a vow, a silent but fierce promise to endure, a commitment to persist no matter how the day unfolds. Because no matter how clear your vision is now, storms will come. Disappointments will arrive uninvited. Your plans will be delayed. People will doubt you. Obstacles will rise like walls. And if you haven't decided in advance to keep going, you won't. But the man who begins his day not just by dreaming, but by declaring, I persist, he cannot be broken. Not because he is stronger than others, but because he chose to be unshakable before the shaking began. Say it aloud, not as a ritual, but as a contract with your character. Today I persist. Through boredom, through pressure, through setbacks. I do not stop. Let those words fill your lungs before the day tries to knock the breath out of you, because the moment you speak them, you plant a flag in your mind. You create a standard your future self is expected to meet. You turn your motivation into a mission. This vow is not just poetic, it's practical. It is the anchor you will cling to when fatigue sets in, when results delay, when nothing goes as planned. Your body will want to quit. Your mind will whisper alternatives, but your vow will speak louder if you made it loud enough to begin with. Most people give up far too soon, not because they're weak, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they never made the decision to persist before the challenge arrived. They didn't make their promise early. They approached the day like a gamble, not a battle. So when the winds changed, they turned around. But you must not be like them. You must make the promise in the calm so you can keep it in the storm. Ask yourself this now, before the chaos begins. When the moment comes today to quit, what will I say back to it? Will you say, this is too hard? Or will you say, I already decided to finish? Will you say, maybe not today? Or will you say, I show up no matter what? Picture this, a man rowing across the sea. He cannot see the shore. Waves rise like mountains. Wind slaps his face. The cold gnaws at his fingers. There is no crowd cheering. There is no one to validate his effort. The boat creaks. The journey drags on, but he does not drop the oars, not because the sea is calm, but because he already made the promise. Before he pushed off the shore, he told himself, I will not stop until I reach the other side. And so, even when there's no sign of land, he rows. Even when the waves insult his pace, he rows. Even when his arms burn and his thoughts beg for comfort, because he's not rowing for a mood, he's rowing for a mission. That is the kind of vow you must make every morning. Write it, speak it, burn it into your bones. Make it a part of your identity. I persist, I overcome, I finish. Let that be the beat beneath your silence, the voice beneath your doubt, the truth louder than your fatigue. Repeat it so many times that quitting becomes the strange option, not the familiar one. And here's the truth no one tells you. The world moves for the man who keeps moving, not for the cleverest, not for the loudest, not even for the most talented, but for the one who refuses to stop, especially when no one is watching. That's the part that matters most. What you do when the crowd is gone, when the lights are off, when there's no scoreboard, no validation, no applause. The man who keeps showing up then, he wins, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. And when his breakthrough comes, everyone says, where did he come from? They don't realize. He's been there all along, rowing, pushing, persisting, quietly keeping a promise that no one else could hear, but that he never forgot. So make that promise now, not later, not when you feel ready. Make it in the stillness of morning, before the pressure begins. Make it with conviction, not just to act, but to endure. Don't wait to see how the day goes before you decide how you'll show up. Decide first. Decide firmly. Decide like your future depends on it, because it does. The vow is simple, but its power is total. Today, I persist. I am here to try. I am here to finish. Let that be the stamp on your heart as you enter the day. Let that be your oath in moments of resistance. Let it be your final word every time weakness tries to speak. You're not here for comfort. You're not here to coast. You're not here to dabble. You're here to build, to finish, to become. That requires stamina, not just physical, but mental, emotional, spiritual. And that stamina is born from one thing: repeated, ruthless recommitment. And you begin that each morning with a vow. You're not the man who tries. You're the man who persists through all of it. So rise, say it, live it. I persist, I overcome, I finish. And the world will eventually move because you never stop. Success doesn't begin with luck. It begins with intention. Every morning you have the power to shape your mindset, your energy, your future. Make this ritual your foundation and watch how doors begin to open, opportunities start appearing, and confidence becomes your default state. Keep showing up, keep doing this one thing, and success won't just visit, it will stay. Your future is watching how you start your day. Make it count every single morning.